Hello, Dr. Amandeep. Hello, Dr. Divya. Hi, Atipreya. Very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in.
Hi, good afternoon.
Very good afternoon. Good
Perfect.
afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So we are here. We are on time, I believe. And Dr. Amandeep, Atipreya, Dr. Divya, I hope the mic access is on, the video is fine, and we are good to go from here.
Yes, and we are streaming live on Facebook also.
Oh, that's great. So thank you so much, for helping us to arrange this session, and thank you so much for all the panelists for joining in and giving us your valuable time to basically help students during this tough time to meet their career objectives, which could be in the form of job, internship, career guidance, or maybe someone trying to build their own startup or maybe a personal brand. So we're gonna target each and every factor today to basically help students to streamline the process. So all the attendees who have joined in, thank you so much for joining in and giving us your valuable time. A quick introduction about the Rockgrow and this initiatives that we have taken to help students. So we at Rockgrow basically help students in uplifting their LinkedIn profile via our LinkedIn profile optimization webinars that we organize with various placement cell, and then we also help them in resume building, cover letter, and formal emails. So this is about our extended family, where we had the privilege to work with Punjab University, City University, and the United Group of Institutes as well. So we went into the discussion recently, and we have identified these major problem statements that we would be discussing today around the job and internship market. That those students, whenever they went out for, especially for the on-campus and off-campus jobs, they're actually not able to crack that HR interview round, and then sometimes their resumes are not getting shortlisted, they're not getting a call from the HR post interview. Some of the students are confused about their career option, that how do we proceed from here, what sort of career option should I be proceeding after my plus 2 or after my BTech graduation, or maybe after MTech as well. So we went into this discussion and finalized that let's have this discussion with all the students today, with our experts that we have, Dr. Atipreya, Dr. Director, the placement and the opportunities with CT universities, then Dr. Divya Bartaria, head CRC UGI, and she is also the founder of Career Mates, which is again a career consultancy firm. Then we have Dr. Amandeep Singh, associate director, CPCA, Punjab University. So these are our panelists. So we would be asking a set of questions that we have got from the students, their career related doubts. So we have our panel moderator today, Mr. Gurinder Singh, who is the business head at Rockgrow, who would be moderating the panel discussion today and will be taking it forward from here. So handling the rights to you, Gurinder. Please take it forward.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jatin. And I would like to, welcome our panelists here and the students who have joined this web session. And I know this is a great opportunity. I mean, for all of us, including the students and us. You don't generally get time, to directly meet with such kind of people who are that experienced in this industry and helping a lot of students over the past many years. And thank you so much, Dr. Amandeep, Dr. Divya, and Mr. Atipriya for joining us today. And to start with, I would like everyone to know that what are your current roles, and how you are helping many students over the past few years. Uh, how this agenda is aligned with your current roles and responsibilities. So just a quick brief about what kind of work you are currently doing. So I'm going to start with Dr. Amandeep Singh, who is actually Associate Director of Central Placement Cell in Punjab University, also Training cum Placement Officer at UIMS Punjab University, and has a humongous experience of 19 years when we talk about teaching and administrative and research work. So, Dr. Amandeep, can you please give us a small intro so that our students can relate to what kind of work you're doing?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for briefly introducing me. Uh, what I have been doing for placements is a full-time placement profile. So I've been associated with UMS now for effectively 11 years. Before that, I was working with Punjabi University Patiala and teaching the MBA course, as well as helping the students there with the placements. And I was also associated with the placement cell, the university placement cell at Punjabi University, Patiala. So I was teaching and handling the activities there. But since 2010, I have shifted to Punjab University, Chandigarh in the UMS department, and my full role is the training and placements. Beyond that, from 2014, I have been associated with the Central Placement Cell of Punjab University, and I am also the coordinator for Center for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, which has been set up by Punjab University now. So what we have been doing at Punjab University is organizing basically a job event which is called Avsar. We also organize a non-credit course which is on personality development. So we have auditorium sessions. We have a mix of around 200 to 250 students, which we call from all the university, and we have auditorium sessions on personality development. Beyond that, we also organize department-wise workshops, which is a 2-day workshop, includes 3 sessions on personality development, followed by a panel discussion involving an alumni or an industry expert with the students. So this is primarily my activities at Punjab University. Thank you.
Great. So, Dr. Divya, can you brief the students about your your current roles with the UGI, and also the venture you are currently doing to help the students with the career guidance?
Sure. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I must express my thanks to each one of you for giving this opportunity. As the head corporate relations United Group of Institutions, we are working, I am personally working for the students' career development. And basically, I am a chemistry person. I'm PhD in chemistry. So you can see that there has been a career transition. I have not left teaching chemistry, but yes, I am into administration. So students can take this idea that how your drive of being an enterprising person with an artistic skill and social personality trait, you can do anything in your life. You can go for career transition at any stage of life. So from academics to corporate, and it is actually a blend of academics and corporate that has been given to me at United Group of Institutions. And then as a corporate professional and a career counselor, I have done certification in global career counseling from the University of California, UCLA Extension, and a green belt certification global career counseling from Univariety Singapore. Now, with this blend of academic and corporate experience, I am trying my level best to guide my team of Corporate Relations Center, so that we together, along with the faculty members, the departmental heads, and the faculty members, we can work for the students' career development. So our specific role is to organize the placement drives. And also we have a spiral model of career training programs. Now we are aware of everything, that what are the requirements of the industries, and then accordingly, we are following the model and implementing over the students. I am confident that now the students are better aware. As we become more aware, our students become aware. And when it comes to the career mates, yes, I founded this organization in order to do career counseling, provide my career counseling services to the job seekers, not only the job seekers, but the students of schools who are actually in dilemma, who need some kind of guidance and counseling. So basically, this is my role. And apart from that, I'm trying to develop some growth and developmental models for employability skill enhancement programs. So good to join all of you here. Let's see how it goes on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Divya. And it's great, I mean, what kind of work you're doing. Not even the schools and the colleges, but even when the people get experience, they also need, the career guidance, what kind of situation is currently here. So I'm going to move to Mr. Ati Priya, who is a Director of Training and Development at City University, Ludhiana, and he is also Deputy Director of Entrepreneurship Development Cell there. So Mr. Ati Priya, can you please introduce us about your current roles there?
Thank you so much for it. First of all, inviting me to this panel discussion, and thank you so much for making me a part of this August panelist. Thank you so much. So like Sir has already mentioned, I'm the Director for Planning and Development in the City University, and I'm also the Deputy Director for Entrepreneurship Cell, and I'm also at the Corporate Resource Center. So I come from basically a corporate background. My expertise includes in transformational change management, and I've extensively worked in all facets of management with specialization in the field of leadership development, organizational behavior, cultural building, and employment engagement. And like being a part of Corporate Resource Center, so we coordinate activities of internship and placement services for the students. We administer and supervise the university's academic placement and recruitment program. We have also established a special cell for developing the professional skills of the students. So we train on both the hard and soft skills. So that means we can evaluate the performance of the candidates and make recommendations for their personal growth, motivate them to achieve peak productivity and performance. And as far as my education background is considered, so I'm pursuing my PhD in management, basically in entrepreneurship and AI. So I'm a PhD scholar. I'm also an MBA in international business, MCOM in international business, PG diploma in intellectual property rights, PG diploma in international business operations. I'm a semi-qualified chartered accountant also, and I'm also a certified Six Sigma Black Belt from Government of India. So I take a blend of both academic and corporate world together. So that's all from my side.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Atipriya. And I hope students get an idea that what kind of panelists are here and they benefit the most from it, because we don't generally get a time for direct interaction like this with people who are at your position. So we have found few questions which might be the most general one for each, and this will benefit each and every students here. After we are done with those questions, students will also be open to put up the questions in chat box. I'll pick up the few, and maybe according to the time we can take it the most general ones, so that it's beneficial for. So I'm gonna start with one of the question that it's not always the technical knowledge you need to be prepared with when you go and sit in front of an interviewer. So it's all about the mental preparation also, along with the knowledge you have and the kind of preparation you did. But you should also have to work on the personal growth. So regarding the mental preparation, how do you think, in that kind of pressure when you're in the last semester, you need a job, your friends are getting placed who are technically sound and who are good at communication skills, they get placed. So what kind of mental pressure students go through, how they should deal with it, and how they should be mentally prepared?
You're addressing this question to me?
Yes, Mr. Atipriya.
Okay. Means we've all heard the cliche that attitude is everything. But like if you're a job seeker, getting ready for an interview, it's more than an empty phrase. It's a critical component of your successful preparation, because staying positive all the time may not be realistic, but too much negativity can really hurt your chances. So like if you take the time to prepare, you'll present the most relaxed, focused, and confident version of yourself. Now there are certain ways in which means you can make sure that means you are giving your best for the interview. It means you should give serious thoughts to your hard and soft skills, like I mentioned, because these days soft skills plays a very vital role. Means when you want to get yourself placed, means you should review your top job related strengths, and you should be ready to emphasize the technical or the functional skills, such as like if you're from management background, means you can emphasize on account management, business development, sales support, or staff supervisions. And when it comes to the soft skills, personal attributes which is unique to you, that will set you apart from the other job applicants. They will also help you work effectively with other people. And means when you're presenting, means for the interviews, you should always think about your top accomplishments. Now this requires means putting pen to paper first, and then carefully choosing key success stories likely to resonate with potential employees. Now if you have difficulties means in organizing your accomplishments, try thinking about them in terms of problem, action, and then the end result.
Mm-hmm.
And you should invest some time and work with some some career coach. Like if you have a placement cell dedicated for this, go and talk with them. They'll give you some trainings, because mock interviews, they provide a powerful preparation. You should consider them as your mental workout for your confidence. The more mock interviews you'll give, the more mentally you'll prepare for the interview, and the more confidence you'll get. And whenever you are preparing for it, try to put yourself in the interviewer's shoes, because like imagine yourself, that that you are the interviewer, and how you will feel that the opportunity to sell yourself is fading, so the most important thing is which every candidate face while appearing for the interview is the stress. Now you should manage your stress. This is a huge task, so you need to plan. So that means you can prepare a calm, positively energized environment for yourself the morning on which you have your interview. Try to limit the unwanted distractions that day. And like if you're very nervous, use deep breathing techniques or meditation to reduce anxiety levels. But yes, don't fall asleep while doing the meditations. And one more excellent way to minimize stress is very simple. Like what happens, like whenever we get a call for the interviews, if it's in campus drive, then obviously you'll have to come to the campus and then take the interview. But sometimes companies call you at their office, and that times we rely on the GPS. And what happens, we don't usually go a day before to the venue to just check that, okay, how much time we are taking to cover the distance. And what we do, we usually, travel on the day of interview. And that time, sometimes if GPS does not work, then that releases to stress. So, you should find certain ways to minimize the stress, and always picture yourself in the job. Because, this exercise can be done anytime during your job search. Find a quiet spot, get comfortable and close your eyes and visualize yourself in the job you want. Because see yourself sitting at your desk, talking with your co-workers, working with your team, envision yourself being happy. This type of positive visualization practice is effective and can boost confidence and candor during the interview.
Right. So thank you so much for your insights on this. And when I was in that phase, I was in the final semester. These things don't seem that much of importance. At that time, students think that the things you should know about the company and about the knowledge that you might have regarding your subjects is the only important thing in the interview. But yeah, rightly mentioned few points you have, that you should be mentally prepared. You can practice deep breathing and build a confidence before you go there. So it keeps a high importance. Now that I'm in a corporate world for last 5 years, now I know that it holds a very high importance when you're going to an interview, apart from the knowledge that you have. So yeah, so extended version of this question, I would like Dr. Divya to take it. When apart from mental preparation, things don't go as per plan. So what students do is they generally go into self-doubt, whether I'm doing something wrong. Is it something that I need help with, or or I have something wrong in my personality? So how they can cope up with that and focus on the things they are doing, and there are not vacancies, so that in which all the students will get hired. So it's not about something wrong with you. So how they can deal with that self-doubt, Dr. Divya?
Okay. I must appreciate that you have included mental health and stress-free approach right in the beginning as the default essentials. As Atipriya sir has rightly said, that it is very much required that you have to have a calm and composed attitude. Now, if you really want to do effective and fulfilling job search, you are asking about the self-doubt, right? You are asking about the self-doubt?
Right.
Okay. So when the situation arises, we have to understand. So job seekers having self-doubt means job seekers or aspirants losing hope, right? Now, here comes the role of academic and career advising and building hope. I know that hope is a little word, but trust me, this word has big implications. We know that when students aren't able to qualify the test or crack the job, they start feeling as if they have exhausted all the options, and no matter what they do, they think that things won't change or improve. Now, all such students, we have found that all such students having self-doubt share some very common characteristics. They may know that what they want to do, but they have no idea how to get there. Similarly, they have defined a goal and a path in their mind, but are inclined to give up at the first sign of a roadblock. They have a goal in mind, pathway as well, but struggle with motivation. Also, we have found that they have an extreme fear of failure, anxiety, and uneasiness about the future. They are always into competition, comparison, and avoid challenges. Now, as you have asked, the question is how to remove this self-doubt. What can be done in such cases? Since I am working with and working for thousands of students and I have been dealing with such cases, I can reflect upon this situation by saying that through guidance and counseling, we can help building pathways and hope. And I must say, and I have been addressing the students, that hope has been considered as a reliable predictor of effort and achievement. So I request all the students to give due emphasis on that. Hope is a reliable predictor of effort and achievement. Now, what kind of hope are we talking about? So, Gurvinder and all the guest speakers who are present over here, I would like to share with all of you, all the participants also, that I always try to give a hope toolkit to the students while I am dealing with such cases, such students having self-doubt or losing hope. So, because I always tell them that research suggests that hope is malleable. Malleable means that can be taught. It can be taught. So let's talk about how. So we give them the hope toolkit. We can teach and reinforce hopeful thinking even in brief interaction with job seekers. So I usually interact with the students. What I do is that I start working upon 3 core competencies of hope. The first core competency is goal. Now, what we do, we encourage students to set goals geared towards mastery and personal growth instead of focusing only on coursework and grades. So we try to encourage them to do so. We use part of our meeting in generating plans to achieve those goals. We monitor and inform them about their progress towards goal, right? So in that way, we try to help them in removing their negative habits and replacing with better ones. Now, the second core competency under hope is pathways. Now, once a goal is identified, they need to outline pathways, right? Logical, concrete steps to get there. We can train them to think strategically. What we do, we help students to think of appropriate ways to track their progress and evaluate strategies step by step. What will I need to do daily, weekly, etc.? What worked, what didn't, and why? What can I do differently next time? So these are certain questions which they can ask, we can ask, and then accordingly they can understand their progress. Also, I personally try to activate contingency thinking in them, help them avoid the positive thinking trap. They are into positive thinking trap or optimism, and ask them, what will you do if plan A fails? I always recommend that students be prepared with plan B and plan C. Not more than that, but you should have a buffer plan, right? Provide suggestions for alternative routes. So this is the second, you can say competency, core competency. The first one was goals, the second one was pathway, and the third one is agency. Now, what I mean to say agency here, agency is just like the fuel in the tank that keeps us going, a drive that fuels motivation, because such students having self-doubt do not have the motivation, any kind of motivation. So motivation is very much required here. We tell the job seekers that failure is actually a part of learning, obstacles are inevitable, you can find ways to overcome them. We can work together to analyze roadblocks, emotions, and frustrations. In this way, we encourage use of support systems and resources. So this is how we know that this hope is contagious, and with the help of these 3 core competencies of hope, we try to help the students, we try to provide them the support systems. If we spend time with hopeful people, we tend to feel more engaged and hopeful. So this is how we deal with students having self-doubt.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Divya, for such insightful tools how we can deal with the self-doubt. I hope students have got every bit of it. And I would like to move to Dr. Amandeep. He has a huge experience working with students working with PhD students who are at very mature level, and even with the students, he is also teaching in Punjab University. So he also knows the thinking of the students which are at at the bachelor's level. So I would like to know, I mean, what are the the biggest challenges you think that there might be when you're guiding those students for jobs, related to their what kind of approach they have, and what you should be the one who amends that approach if you think that which can provide them good opportunities in future. So what would be the biggest challenges that you have faced?
So I think the biggest challenge, which probably all my co-panelists would agree, is the non-participation of the students. Uh, we can take today's example only. So I posted the message across to my 240 students, and probably Atipriya and Dr. Divya would have also shared with some. And what I could also see in one of the LinkedIn posts, somewhere on someone has posted that we have 483 registrations. What I can see, number of participants here is around 90. So the biggest challenge what we face is students probably generate interest, but then when it comes to participation, they feel it is not important. So they would not participate in any process, be it a soft skill session, be it a motivational lecture, be it a academic session, be it a industry visit. The idea is the student wants to just perform in an interview and get selected. Wherein what I can see is it is not a single day process just that you go inside an interview room and talk to them for 5 minutes and you will be selected. It requires three stages. Probably first and foremost is you need to prepare well, and second is you need to practice well. Whenever you are going for a placement process, you need to practice, as Atipriya said, mock interviews and all those things. You need to practice a lot, and then comes the performance. But what all the students over here, or what the younger generation is trying to do is, when it is required to prepare, they would have multiple excuses. They have a tea or a coffee to be taken somewhere with a friend, a movie has to be watched, or probably do nothing but stand outside in the campus, just stand outside the walls of the campus. So the idea is, the biggest challenge from today's generation is they want good placements, good profiles, but the preparation and practice part is lacking. They are not aware, they are not researched well about the jobs. They do not probably go an extra mile to decide what is right, what is wrong. And then comes the second stage. First, obviously, is non-participation. Then comes the second stage. People who participate, they also do not know why they are participating. Either it is some are participating because of the friends, some are participating because the parents would have asked, you have to sit for a placement. So they are not participating with the zeal to perform well. Until and unless that zeal is there, the performance will not come. So if I am not focused on the job which is being offered to me in a campus placement, and I go and participate in it, then the students have easiest of the excuse. If selected, the student feels it is just a simple thing. And if not selected, this job was not meant for me. I had just come for a trial. We have also seen students appearing in the final interview, getting selected, and then requesting, sir, this was just a trial thing. I want to sit for a better company. So that is the biggest challenge. You do not have clarity. You do not want to start a career. You do not research the company well. You do not find out multiple opportunities which can be available from multiple channels. Campus placements is one. Okay, everyone expects a company would come. The TPO or the placement cells would get the companies, and we will sit there and we'll get multiple opportunities and get selected. But you need to do a lot of research. So coming back to the formula, prepare, practice, and perform. But on the day of interview, practice, practice, practice. If you keep on practicing, only then you can perform. So this is the formula basically has to be adopted by student. And biggest challenge, as I told you earlier, is a non-participation. So we are effectively addressing good students here, and those who are not being addressed will be the people who will be grudging, who will be saying we are not getting effective placements. So participation of students has to be encouraged by those who are present here, to go to various classmates or friends, to encourage them to participate in every session which is related to personality development, academic development, or even other soft skills. Could be team building, could be other activities, co-curricular activities, cultural activities, sports activities in the department or in the various university campuses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amandeep. I hope students have listened to the very deep insights Dr. Amandeep has mentioned here. He is saying, I mean, we should not compare the results, right? So we can't say that that person have got the selected in the interview and I was not selected. We also have to see the process he has followed there. So we have to follow the process if you want the results. You can't get the results if you have not followed the process which is needed to be done there. So thank you so much, Dr. Amandeep, for such insights. And as you mentioned, regarding the resources and tools and the preparation method, I would like to ask Dr. Divya that what kind of tools or resources do you think that a student should streamline before they go for before they search a job or they go to the search process, or they enter into that kind of mental preparation of that this is the kind of job I want, this is the kind of internship I want. So what kind of tools and resources do you think that they should have in hand before they go after a job?
Okay. So basically, I can say that there may be different ways, and you can categorize the job search or research process in various categories. The first way may be job role research. I recommend a few sites for students. Start your search with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a good way to understand what job roles are in demand at companies you might be interested in. First way is by growing your network. You can search for people with the specified job roles, maybe in your acquaintance, and you can communicate with them, or else you can send a customized message or note to the unknown persons. Now, the second opportunity to connect with others and expedite your job search is to find and join groups. And here you can have high quality conversations. You can do job search, right? Now, this is a great way of growing connect and understanding each other's requirements. Then you can spend a few minutes exploring some more interesting and useful sites such as Indeed.com, Google.com. Here you can find hiring opportunities that suit your job role and level of experience. You can have a great way to search for internships, job openings. You can search for jobs near me or entry-level jobs in any particular area, maybe finance, maybe IT. And I haven't explored much, but idealist.org, because I have just recently registered my organization into that. I'll definitely will explore, because I have come to know that through this, you can search for jobs and internships that serve your local community. And you can enter your town's name into the search, best companies to work for, to bring up lists of well-respected local businesses. Handshake.com, wayup.com are the other useful sites wherein you can go for internships and entry-level job opportunities at companies ranging, it may range from startups to the Fortune 500. Now, this was one way, right? This was job role search or research. Now, when it comes to workplace research, right? So you'll have to understand whether you would like to go for service-based company or product-based company. So what you need to do is you have to visit the company's website and explore its cover and about pages to learn what product they manufacture or what services they perform. Try to know whether company's mission, work, vision, size, location, work culture, environment are a good match for your own workplace preferences or not. Then further, you can use the Glassdoor's company evaluations for employee reviews and satisfaction. So these are certain tools. Also, I have found this very useful. You can hunt for recent news or product announcements. So basically, these tell you about a company's new product development and might also reveal areas where they are struggling. So in that way, you can focus yourself, your job search as well. Now, let me tell you, don't forget that human touch, right? Conduct informational interviews. I must tell you that I have been practicing informational interviews with some of my counselees and students as well. Many of the best positions emerge from conversations rather than the internet searches. Whether you are a fresher or an experienced employee, you can talk to people. Ask about the place where they work. What does the company manufacture? What service does it provide? How do people like working there? How did you get to where you are? What advice you give me? So you should not create any negativity by asking this type of question that, do you have a job for me? But you can ask, you can and should ask, do you know anyone I could talk to about work in this specific job role? So in that way, you can politely ask and gather the information. So informational interviewing is also working these days. The key for your successful job search is in your professional network. Trust me. Research says that many of the open positions are filled by reference. Last but not the least, I must give suggestions to all the students present over here that get your career documents, resume, and LinkedIn profile ready, customize your documents, and send it to the person who has immediate requirements. So I can say that my mantra to prepare a strategy for job and internship search is that the difference between what you are and what you want to become is what you do. So do set your goals, do job role search, do workplace search, do everything that makes you skilled and fulfill recruiters' expectations. So this is how we try to make our students understand that you have to bridge the gap between what you are and what you want to be. And for that, you have to do, obviously.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Divya. And I hope students got all the platforms that you mentioned. If you want, I mean, we can also share it, later after this session. And regarding, I would like to, as you mentioned, about the LinkedIn. And today also many interviewers, they always, try to read the LinkedIn profile of the people who they're interviewing. So it has become the biggest, you can say that, a biggest platform from where the job seekers pick up the students, and students also, get the references for their jobs from LinkedIn only. So Dr. Amandeep, I would like you to, share your views on the role of LinkedIn for, jobs and career guidance as per the current situation that we have.
The current situation obviously is very bad. The COVID situation, hopefully everyone stays safe. What I can probably guide, because the audience over here is mostly the students. So what I can probably tell the students is the best use of LinkedIn obviously is building your network is right. The first and foremost and the easiest probably is to build a network with the alumni of your institute. And once you have built that network, you obviously get to know effectively what are the companies which are going to come for you. And obviously, some of the companies, the students would have done their own hard work or their own off-campus placements. So this would probably give you a clarity or a reality check that these are the companies which normally visit the campus for campus placements. And beyond that, whatever, say for example, let me take an example, like say I want to take up a job with HDFC, and I go to LinkedIn and find out the alumni of my institute, UIMS Punjab University, and then I find out that there are say 10 connections who are working with HDFC right now. So best and easiest, open each and every alumni's profile, see their skill set, what they have mentioned there, and try to replicate them. So they might have done some certifications, could be related to advanced Excel, business analytics, could be financial models. So try to find out those type of skill sets and see what they have achieved as an individual. And if you feel there is some query, just directly reach out to them. Because properly, the people who are on LinkedIn, they are not there only for social purpose. They are there to build their professional and give you professional advice. But it is for these students of the present area, although pandemic probably has been the worst scenario, but the silver lining over here is people have started using the online media to more effectiveness. Probably interacting with an alumni would have been a challenge in earlier times, arranging for his visit, honorarium, a gift, a bouquet and all that. But these days you can organize a Zoom meet or a Google meet at any point of time. So build your resume, build your skills, talk to your network, and use the LinkedIn in the best possible manner is, first and foremost, is you won't get disheartened because your alumni would definitely help you, but it is how you nurture that relationship. So my only advice to students here is build a network and use that network to upgrade your skills and your resumes and apply appropriately. Don't go with that mindset that I have found an alumni and then I would request, sir, is there any job available? And okay, he will give me a platter of jobs and then I will choose one job and I'll be selected. This is not going to happen. They are only going to guide you with the guidance part, how to build your skills, what are the upcoming skills, what they expect in a student. So that is what I would suggest to the participants here, to build their own profile using the LinkedIn network.
Right. And yeah, very rightly said. Along with the interviewers, your network with your opportunities out there, you can get to know about the in your interview. They definitely, interviews definitely like what kind of information that you have related to the work you are trying to get here in the interview. So thank you so much, Dr. Amandeep, for this. And similarly, related to this LinkedIn profile, when I was in college, most of the students, what they did was they always see that this is a bright student in our class, this is definitely he is definitely going to get the job. So they copy their resume or they get it from some website. They don't work on their resume as per their own strengths and what they are trying to sell to the interviewer as their own self. So they don't put that in the resume. They just copy it from a very good resume from the topper or from other website. It has happened. I mean, I have seen this for on-campus placements. But Dr. Divya, do you think that this is the resume making is importance for both on-campus and walk-in interviews? How much importance does that hold? If you put your resume by yourself and what think of yourself.
During this pandemic period, we have very rightly observed the importance of resume. Resume plays a very important role, we know very well, and you have rightly expressed and shared a very common practice that the students do. And even we as the placement heads or the directors have been giving less emphasis to the resume building at our institute level since long, but now we are aware of that. The scenario has changed entirely. Most of the resumes are rejected at the very initial phase of screening just because of them being copied, not being original, not being able to meet their criteria or not being able to map their skill sets required. Now, for the students, it is very important for them to understand who measures this match, right? Sometimes it is a person, typically a recruiter or hiring manager, but in many companies, that person is not a human at all. Therefore, in order to convince a recruiter or resume software to advance you to an interview, you need to demonstrate that your skills and experience align with the job's requirement. As Dr. Amandeep has rightly said, that students think that resume building is a one-day process. Just before the drive, just before the placement drive, they will go through the book or the practice questions. They will create a resume and then they will submit and appear for the interview. It doesn't work. So basically, resume building is a long-term process. I can say the applicant tracking system is used by 98% of Fortune 500 companies, 66% of large companies, and about 35% of small organizations. So it's an important advice to all the students that please make sure to optimize your resume so that it passes through the applicant tracking system. Even if the drive is on campus, because you are asking whether it is important for on-campus drive or not. So even if the drive is on campus, they sometimes ask resume in advance for an initial screening, maybe through resume software, applicant tracking system. And therefore, be it in campus or off-campus drive, resume is important. So as I was telling you, a resume reflects your career portfolio or your profile. That should be, right. So that should be built over a period of years. It's not a one-day journey while it is a process. It is a continuous process. Writing a resume means determining your goals. How can you determine your goal in a day? It requires a lot of exploration and assessment, exploration of your interests, exploration of your abilities, skills, needs, values, and interests, which when put together determine your career objective. So there is a heading at the top, career objective or vision statement you write. So what the students do, they generally copy from other. If we tell them that this is the format, they just use that format. And sometimes we see that all the students are having the same career objective. This is not, so this is not at all possible. Now, how can they write the career objective? So for 2022 batch, I am going to take a session on writing a career objective. Now, this requires at least 2 to 3 days, minimum 2 to 3 days, so that students write their own career objective. So your resume is considered to be one of the most important tools of job search. You are asking for, tool. So tools for job search and also for your own representation, right? So you can see that your resume makes a great first impression, and employer uses it to decide whether or not to consider you for a job. Although we know that in on-campus drives, aptitude tests, machine tests, GD and PI are the first and the preferred steps of selection process. But at the same time, we cannot deny the fact that resumes play an extremely important role in campus drives, as well as especially during the HR and technical rounds. So So virtual drives during pandemic period were based on resume screening and interviewing processes. You know that we were involved into that process. It reflects your career objective, your education skills, strengths, achievements, accomplishments, your project and experience section and all. So I think resume plays a very important role. It is indispensable and it requires a lot of efforts. It is a process. It is not a one-day process. It requires a lot of time, even for school students also. I have developed a profile building program. So it is not new. This program is not new, but in what way you represent, in what way you deliver and teach the students, it is that is important, right? So students try to know and understand that from when they are in class 9th or not in 9th, in 10th, how can they determine their career objective? How can they select their stream? So they start their profile building from there. So profile building means developing a profile or career portfolio, which is a scrapbook of resume. So in that way, it becomes very important.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Divya. I would like to ask Mr. Atipriya. I mean, when we talk about resume building and when we have got the knowledge, we have also been through the process. As Dr. Amandeep have mentioned, for example, some students also, try to keep up with the process when they are trying to achieve something. But the need of the market changes from time to time. So how you can be updated with the latest skills that are in need currently in the market, and what should be the resources from where you can get that kind of information? Because there's not any platform that puts up information related to that. So how can they get updated? Keep updated themselves with the latest skills that are needed in the market.
Yeah, it's true. Like, means keeping yourself up to date with the latest industry trends. This is not a choice anymore, but a necessity. Like if you want to succeed in life these days. And it is essential for students and, working professional like us also to keep means, yourself informed about the latest developments in the field of business and economy. Because companies today, they are changing fast with the, exponential innovations in technology. They are redefining the way how they operate their businesses. And there is daily something new coming up, which has to be followed for upgrading knowledge and keeping pace with the latest developments in the chosen field of your job search ensures that you get a competitive advantage over the others in the job market. Now, there are certain ways like in which like you can keep yourself abreast with the current industry trends, means through which you can yield good returns for you in future. Means to start with, devote some time from your daily schedule each day to means practice all these steps so that it becomes habit in the later stage. Like Amandeep sir said that means network is your net worth when we are talking about the LinkedIn also, and means one of the most effective ways of remaining well informed about the latest trends is to stay connected with the right set of people. Building networking relationships helps to leverage shared wisdom, and that expands your knowledge base. And I believe that it is one of the most innovative modes of learning and working together. LinkedIn means, like Raghu also gives some expert sessions like how you can build up your profile on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very important, means platform where means students and means working professionals, like they can participate in relevant interactive forums, and means they can participate in meeting and interact with people, which leads to a lot of knowledge sharing and co-creation opportunities. Next is means read relevant contents, reading magazines, the journals, the newspapers, means it's a time tested way to keep yourself updated with the latest trends, because these publications render great source of information of all sorts. Means you can read magazine publications such as Harvard Business Review, Smart Manager, The Economist, for keeping yourself updated with the upcoming trends in the fields of politics, business, science, technologies, art, literature, and means there are many such more interesting areas also. And then today means it's a era of mobile phones, means there are certain mobile apps as well, means which are known for the content discovery. Like there is a mobile app InShot which gives you very short and crisp information, and that saves your time also in this fast moving environment. So means getting abreast with the technological aspect is also important. You can use television also as a tool of empowerment, means this millennial generation is heavily hooked on to the television these days. There are lots of web series and everything, but TV shows, they are gaining popularity day by day, because news channels, they play a pivotal role to keep us updated with, means go to CNN, go to NDTV, because watching these dedicated TV shows on business, entertainment and current affairs, they increase the level of awareness. And means social media channels, like I've already mentioned, like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, means they can get huge, means you can get huge amount of information on what is trending in the field of business and economy. And yes, you can also subscribe to certain email alerts and specific blogs, means to keep yourself a track of upcoming events. If you want to interact, means Quora is a very good platform where you can interact with other means your counterparts, and means you can exchange the information. So you need to means keep updated about means what is happening in the business and the market trend, because companies these days, they are means much focused, like how much well versed you are with the latest developments in the field of the job which you're in the domain of for the job which you're choosing for.
Right. So very important points that you mentioned here, not only for the student but also for the working professionals. I mean, how they can be, students generally, think that, to get an interview, you have to be well versed with the books which are there in their syllabus. But I think these are the things which makes up their personality, and interviews see that he is informed with these topics. If he's saying something, how much he know about that, how much he is informed about that particular thing. So I hope students got the point. These are some things which you don't think are important in that phase of life. I have been there, but now I realize what are the things Mr. Atipi has mentioned and Dr. Amandeep has mentioned here. So these are very important things to grasp. And I'm gonna move to our next question with Dr. Amandeep here. So many students, as Mr. Atipi mentioned, they get the knowledge which is there in our syllabus, but we are not looking for other sources to get your personality built. So they do not generally get the HR round cleared. So they clear the tech round, but they fail in that HR round. So how you think that you can go about it? What are the reasons and how they can improve this?
So basically, the bigger challenge is students do not discuss this a lot. I am appearing for a company, and when I go for the HR round, the HR basically wants to analyze whether the student is the best fit for that role or not, because the knowledge component has already been tested. They just now need to know the fitness part, whether this resource which we are going to hire, which we are going to nurture in future, is it going to be a best fit in the organization? Now, the problem with the students is, again, they're not focused. They're not discussing everything. If they come for an interview, say probably they would not discuss it with the parents or the friends. What is the job role and why I am appearing? And they do not take insights whether this job role is suitable for you or not. So they will be sitting there and then giving wild guess answers. They have not done a proper thorough search or proper reasoning why I am a fit person for this job. They haven't replicated an alumni or replicated a person who is working in that company. The best thing when this campus placement people come, the initial part is they give you a pre-placement talk. So those 30-35 minutes or 20-25 minutes, whatever it is not the time only to listen to the presentation which is there. It is also to see what is the body language of the various team members, what is their tone to talk about, what probably are their expectations when they're asking students some questions over there. So within those 30 minutes, you need to feel a comfort zone with all the panelists who have come for the placement process. You have to basically get in sync with what their expectations are. And when it comes to the HR round, obviously you have done the biggest hurdle, that the knowledge round has been done, tech round has been done. Now, when it comes to the HR round, you have to see that you do not overperform or you do not underperform.
Right.
So some job roles have specific requirements, and you do not have to be fussy about some little nitty-gritties. My job location, my fixed component of salary, what will be the growth within 1 year, because you are not going to the company for a year or so. You have to plan a career in your organization. So that is the part the students lack when they go for this HR round. They are not in a comfort zone, and they have not researched or discussed about the job role, how it is going to be fit for them. So I would suggest the students, before coming for any campus placement or any other job interview, please research the profile and all that thing, but do discuss it. It might be just a friend, or might be a teacher, might be an alumni, might be your parents, might be some relative, so that you are in a comfort zone to deal with this type of a situation when the HR is there. A golden rule is, no organization is coming for the campus placements for rejecting any candidates. The mindset of any employer is to select a resource. So failing does not mean you are rejected. That means you have not been selected, you are not the best fit for them. So the idea is to be a best fit and be in that motto that you will be selected one day or the other. Hopefully the first interview you face, but if not, you have to just redo the things and make you the best fit for the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amandeep. And we have, I guess, it's been an hour we have started, and we have limited time now. So we are going to wrap it up quickly and maybe take some questions from the participants here. And regarding this particular, thing that Mr. Amandeep, Dr. Amandeep has mentioned here. Related to that, the importance of, the currently students, how they are coping up with their HR issues, and as you mentioned, I have a few questions in the chat box. Just give me a moment so that we can pick it up from there. So related to the current situation, the training which is being virtually provided, I recently saw some advertisement that some of the companies are not allowing to students who are passed out in the corona time to sit for the interviews. So the virtually provided information and the education to the students and the classroom training, would that be necessary for the students? Would that be a drawback for them what they have faced in this past year? So Dr. Amandeep, could you please help out with that?
Look, this situation is not hidden from anyone. It is not a situation which is specific to India. It is a worldwide scenario. Every employer knows about it. What challenge, what is expected is the employer wants to know how effectively you have used this time. So no one probably thought of doing online certifications before that. This was a time Coursera came up. Other websites have come up. The Swayam website of the Government of India is there, wherein the online courses are there. You can have a video course or a live course there. So what is expected in today's scenario is that students have not just gone through their online academics, but beyond that, within the period, they have done some online certifications apart from the internships. Obviously, there is a big gap in doing the internship, a physical internship in an organization and an online internship. But the employer also is well versed about with these things. So I don't think this is a major disadvantage. The major disadvantage would be someone, a candidate who has done nothing within this 1 year and says in the interview directly says it was pandemic, so I didn't do anything. So I would say take it as an opportunity. There are multiple resources available to do online courses, add on certifications, and I would say make a data bank of certifications with you. Say if you are a finance student, do 5 or 6 courses, online trainings, virtual internships, volunteering. Do all those things. Make 6, 7 things in your kitty, and whenever an organization comes, do not put all together. Just customize it. Just put 2 or 3 relevant to the job profile in your resume, and effectively, I don't think there will be any problem to any candidate in this scenario because of this pandemic.
Okay. Thank you for that. And Mr. Atipe, regarding the emails, whenever HRs ask you to drop us an email when we talk about walk-in interviews, and even for the on-campus interviews, also sometimes the email writing also holds some importance when we write it to the interviewer. So they also do they also judge it? I mean, from the first page itself, how you are writing those emails, what is the importance of those? If you create impressive emails for your interviewers.
Yeah, means we've all been there. Like you click open an email and there's a long block of text that stretches beyond where you can see, and your first reaction is that you close the window and then flag the email for later. Means and HR also feel like this only. Like I have also been a part of the HR community for for a few years. So means I know means how HR feels that email can be a useful communication tool, but not everyone uses it well. So means whenever our student is writing an email, you need to maintain your credibility, present yourself as the trusted professional you are. Be polite, like use means words like say please and thank you as appropriate, keep a professional tone. Avoid slang, the exclamation marks and the smiley faces, like means today means we all are, habitual of using the emojis and emoticons while we are chatting with each other. And some of the students, they use these in the emails also. So, means keep a professional tone, use a suitable greeting and opening and means, but avoid insincere small talk, include some suitable sign off that fits the tone of the email. Don't means use too many high importance flags. But yes, before means I move on ahead means I just remember that, sometimes I've seen means students making their email IDs like cooldude69@gmail.com or, means such kind of emails, they don't work. Whenever any HR persons receive such emails from such email, right, that does not show professionalism. So the email ID should be very professional. And, means give the right amount of information in the right way so that your reader is able to read your message easily. So place your key messages and call to action near the top so that it's the first thing your reader sees. Use short everyday words instead of means heavy jargons and difficult words. Avoid acronyms and terms your reader won't understand. Like if means don't use ASAP. It means if you're writing an email, right? Keep sentences short and means help your reader scan it. Means like we don't read content on screen word for word. In fact, most of us scan a web page in an F-shape pattern. So put your key message and call to action like I've already said, and don't use too much bold in it. Like if you emphasize on too many words, you end up emphasizing nothing. Avoid all caps, huge fonts and random colors. These slow the reader down. So second thing is like means the subject matter, the subject line which you're writing, write the subject line after drafting your message. After means use action verb so the reader knows that what you want to be done. Keep in mind that some smartphones, they show only 33 to 44 characters for the subject line. So you should keep your subject line under 50 characters or 6 to 8, because sometimes it happens that the HR professionals and these days means everything is available on this small little device. So we means keep on looking for the things over here only. So means whenever you are sending the mail, it is a very much possibility that the HR might look onto the email on our smartphones also. So you need to keep your subject line under 50 characters, right? And means before sending it, review and revise, because emails, they are quick to create, but they leave a lasting impression. And means once you push the send button, you just only get 5 to 10 seconds to undo it, otherwise means it's gone. So review your work and means save time and get results later. So use the spell check feature. There is a very important tool which you can use, Grammarly, which automatically corrects your grammar and means it automatically gives you suggestions also. So read the messages backwards also to check for errors that a spell check error won't catch up. And make sure that you've attached any important files or included any necessary links. Like if you want to means show up your portfolio, then give a link for your portfolio. If you want to give your show reel to them, give a link to that show reel. And yes, one more thing, means that is very much important, although it's not related to the email, but yes, sometimes what happens, like we give our social media accounts also in the email, drop in the signature line. So please keep your social media free from the irrelevant posts, because these days HRs, they also means go and visit your social media profile to have a look that okay, means what all posts you are putting up. So means these were all means a few tips about the email etiquettes.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, and it was really insightful. These are the tips that not for the job seekers. It also comes handy for the professionals also. So in the corporate world, these things will get you along with your clients too if you're following such things. So I hope students have got the gist out of it. So now Dr. Divya also had to leave, and it's been a time now. And I would like to wrap it up with one last question for Dr. Amandeep, just so that we can conclude with the how you can keep yourself positive even for the worst moments or the best moments you are getting, how to get experience from the bad moments and get leverage from the good moments that you are experiencing. So Dr. Amandeep, so that you can keep it in brief and so that we can conclude in next 5 minutes, and students can learn from their good and bad experiences, how they can tackle with that situation.
So what we normally do at our campuses, we organize a pre-orientation session before the campus placement of a particular organization is there. So in that pre-orientation, we give a brief to the students about the job profile and all that. This is before the presentation round of the organization. So probably one day prior. So we tell them about the expectations of the organization, the number of candidates to be selected, and then we also counsel them probably to read the job role well. And after that, the process starts on the next day. Obviously, we do tell them punctuality, timelines to be adhered. Then whoever is shortlisted in the GD round. Then at the end of the day, those who are selected, so what we do is for every campus, we normally try to do is we congratulate the people selected and then we motivate the others as well that probably multiple organizations are coming. So as I told, the first and foremost thing which we tell the students is there is no word rejection.
Right.
The problem is not selected. And why you are not selected is because of your own issues. Those issues first and foremost, like Dr. Divya said, the career objective. Now, I have made a career objective and I use that CV 100 times in 100 companies. That same career objective does not fit with every job role. Right. The job description gives you some keywords and they expect some skills from your side. So use a mix of those keywords in your CV and then submit it. People tell me, sir, we have submitted CVs or like Atipriya was saying, a cool guy email comes with a rubbish kind of a CV. It will take 5 seconds to throw it in trash. It will be just a 5 to 10 second job to go to the next email or the next CV. But if that CV has been catered specifically to the job description with a very good subject line, And obviously, beyond that, the CV shows that your skills are in sync with the expectations. Then probably
Right.
rejections will not come. Then you will get to at least face the interview process. But if you just do most of the students would say offline, how I apply, I do a BCC to 100 email IDs, and dear sir, madam, same subject line, same CV is sent to 100 emails, and they would say I haven't received even a single email back. Well, how would you get it? That is trash. It initially goes to the junk mail folder of the employer, and when the junk mail folder is opened, this mail has a trash CV. It has not been focused or prepared well. So wherever you prepare, do that research well and put that in your CV every time, in your covering letter of that CV. Effectiveness would come and rejection would never be there. And hopefully everyone gets selected. Not selected would also not be there.
Great, great. That's some hard truths by Dr. Amandeep, and you must work on these things. If you are looking forward at least to sit in the interview. He rightly said. I mean, almost 98% of the resumes are getting rejected. Only 2% of the people are getting call back from the interviews. Just to talk to them, even before the selection. So that is how the resume making holds the importance in your jobs, and how the resume building, your knowledge from the LinkedIn, your knowledge from your the company you're working in. So one of the example was, one of my friend also was applying for a company, and he prepared a presentation about the company itself, what kind of work they are doing, what is their process, and how their revenue is. So they were so impressed. I mean, they didn't even consider him for the interview. They simply selected him. This is how your knowledge, your before going to the interview, your kind of work you're doing on the resume or your LinkedIn profile will help you in the in your job placement. So not just the knowledge you are getting from your college, but these kind of things will help you a lot. Because technical knowledge they can give you, they can provide you, they need some basics you want to know, but these are some personality traits that you need to develop. So I would like to conclude the session with this. And if you are interested, you can let us know. We can provide you the LinkedIn profiles of our panelists. You can reach them with the appropriate questions, not spam them. They are at the kind of position, they will not have that much of time, but you can definitely reach them for appropriate questions. You can reach Jatin or me regarding the resume building, and regarding what kind of work you need to do before you sit in the interview. So we can help you with that. So thank you so much for joining us all. I want to thank all the participants and our panelists here. And I'll be definitely be in touch with our panelists related to for my career guidance too. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This was and Jatin, if you would like to add something.
Yeah, so let's conclude it by giving a huge round of applause for all the panelists. I really like the insights and the practical aspect that the panelists have included while giving the explanation. I really admire the fact that they have given us beyond 15 minutes than our scheduled time. So a lot of questions are still remaining, so we're gonna catch up with them again to get the answers cleared very soon. So thank you so much for joining us, to all the attendees and the panelists. Thank you so much. Privilege.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.